So this week I have decided to see if I could take the original radiators in to get refurbed rather than buying some aftermarket ones. Having spoken to the guys with the aftermarket radiators, they suggest for like hardcore Sahara riding that having the OME radiators will probably be a better option. I found a guy who doesn't live too far from me. I'm going to take these two radiators in now. They're not too bad. These are the originals. So take them in, see what he thinks about it and whether he can do anything with these, and if so, for what sort of price, and then make a decision after that. Right, so while I'm waiting for these other bits to arrive, I've decided to give cleaning the engine casing, or the clutch cover casing, with the this wire brush on a drill. It's a pretty soft wire brush, so I'm not too worried about it hitting the metalwork too hard. As you can see, there's kind of like corrosion on these covers, and so I'm going to have a go at this. Hopefully it doesn't do any sort of dodginess to the covers, and then I'll make a start on it, and then once I've got going I will show you how it turns out. So I've been going for about 25 minutes and this is how it's come up. What I will do is, I need to order a gasket, but I'll take this off so I can get into these spots underneath here. And I just thought, while it's on the bike and it's leaning in that direction, it might be easier to do it like that rather than it moving around. But it stripped most of the flaky paint off, and it has taken all of the sort of oxidization off. As an example of what I've been doing, kind of just, you can see it like pulls the paint off fairly easy, and then all around the nuts and bolts. And then once I'm done, what I'll do is I'll hit this with a really light sandpaper just to smooth everything off, and then give it a respray with some high heat paint. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. So sanding this with a 400 grit, what I'll do is that once I've got all the major rough bits off, I will get some water and then go to an even lighter, maybe a 600 or 1200 grit, just to get it super smooth before I spray it. And then obviously I'll take this cover off and then do in amongst all the little bolts and stuff like that. But I won't pull it off until I've got the majority of it done, because then I'll have to try and hold it on the vise and all that sort of stuff. So while it's easier and all the covers are off, I shall just do it on here. So I had a couple packages arrive, and it might be a bit of a challenge to do this with one hand, so bear with me here while I just dig into this bag. And these should be, so this is a bag of all new motorcycle clips so that I can sort out. This plug broke when I was taking out, so that will be covered by that. And then the regulator rectifier plug, that one has, I don't know if you can remember from the first episode, these wires are like a little bit burned, so inside here should also be a plug to redo those wires properly, because I'm not a fan of kind of burnt wires. And then this package, a bit of luck, should be the new aftermarket headlights. There we go. So these will be the new headlights for the Africa Twin. I had to wait a long time for these. They were like a 2-week waiting list or waiting time for the turnaround on these. But I'm kind of keen just to plug it in and see what they look like. So bear with me and I will give that a go. Okay, so that's connected on. Oosh, that's bright. So that's low beam, and then high beam is, apparently you can connect these outer white lights to the park lights as well. So that's pretty cool. I am looking forward to getting those back onto the bike. I think it's going to be a really cool addition. Okay, so I've been sanding this now for a while. It's about as good as I can get it with it being on the bike and everything. So I'll have to, next thing, pull the covers off. What do you think, Max? Is it up to scratch, buddy? So I'll pull that off and then get into all the underside over here, and then do it as a wet sand with some smoother paper, even though that's pretty smooth. I think the paint would probably fill in the little scratches with a couple layers, but yeah, I think it's going to come out pretty good. So that'll be the next game plan. Okay, we're at the point where we need to take this cover off. So I'm just going to take this off and then get the sides of this all properly done. Get a new gasket, put all that back in after I've painted it, and then that'll hopefully get this side sorted, and then I can look at doing the other stator cover side and all of that. So I'll just get all of these off and then I will show you how we get on. As you can see, this poor old girl is due a bit of a service here, because this oil coming out of it is just wonderful. So I've been told about the clutch rattle on these, and as you can see, oh, it won't bloody move. See that movement? And what that is the springs on the back get, I suppose, worn, or they lose some tension, and that allows this thing, the clutch basket, to move backwards and forwards like that. There is apparently a mod that you can do to put new springs in to take that rattle out, but it's not really a simple mod. You kind of got to take everything apart, split the basket. There's a plate on the back of the basket. You've got to split that off, and the springs are clamped between the basket and that plate. Drill out, because they're like a rivet rather than a bolt, so you've got to drill out the rivet, put a thread on it, and then put it all back together again. Or alternatively, I've seen some guys drill it out and then put a nut and a bolt. But I guess for me, you know, if those things come loose and they're all inside here and you've got bolts coming loose, the potential for way more damage other than just a bit of movement, which I think I can live with, to be honest. Okay, so I got the cover on the bench here, all of this sort of corrosion in these little bits. I'm going to do the same technique with the drill with the wire brush on, and then get all that off, and then once I've got that, I will hit it with some sandpaper and get it all nice and smooth, ready to paint. Okay, so sanded, got all the corrosion off, just hit it with a bit of carb cleaner just to get any of the oil or whatever from my hands and stuff off. Let this dry off a little and then we should be ready to spray. Okay, so that's the first coat on. It's coming out alright, but all these little dots that are spraying out of this annoying can of paint, which is just getting on my nerves because it's landing on the cover as well, and I don't want to stop now, otherwise it's like a whole start over again process. So I'm gonna have to abandon this for a minute. It's causing too many little splatters on the finish here, so I'll take that paint back, see if I can get a replacement, and then we'll carry on. So things don't always go to plan. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff on the shelf here. I had finished spraying this cover and I went to grab something off the shelf, and then it was like an avalanche and everything landed back on my cover. So it made a mark there, made a mark there, and then in my infinite wisdom I thought, oh, let me wipe the paint off and start again, which looked like that. So I then decided just to hold on, call it a day, let this paint dry. I will now have to sand all these down again and give it another go. But other than that, it's come out really well. Looks really nice, and once I've fixed up those little issues over there and there, it'll be much better. Then I can start looking at getting this back together again. Also, the exhaust arrived, so that needs a cleanup, and then yeah, I can go and pick up the radiators. I've got the new headlights, so I just need to take these out of these metal frames, get that done, and then yeah, we can start reassembling again. So we'll check how we get on. I bought this Remus exhaust, full exhaust system on eBay. I kind of try and recycle as much as I can, and this exhaust is like super cheap, but it looks like somebody's panniers, soft panniers, have melted onto the exhaust, so it needs a cleanup. Other than this, the exhaust is in great condition, no rust and stuff like that. So it was kind of messy like this the whole way across, and been using a heat gun and then me trusty old wire brush and just going at it softly, inch by inch, and cleaning all this off. And then once I've got all of the melted plastic off, I will then kind of give it a polish, and yeah man, this exhaust will be sort of good as new. So this is the progress so far. We are just about done. As you can see, got rid of most of it, so I'm pretty chuffed how that's come out. Okay, just got done. Turns out the best way to do this is to apply heat from the heat gun at the same time as you put the wire brush on, so it remains hot, because as soon as it cools, the plastic stuff that was stuck on there, as soon as it cools down, it like dries instantly for some reason, and then it gets really difficult to get off. So everything's off now, it's just a matter of giving it a polish, and then it should be ready to go back on the bike. Okay, after the disastrous fail with the cover, this is the updated, redone, nice and grey, come out really smooth. I didn't realize you had to bake the cover as well, so after I'd put the high heat paint on, I then baked it at 150 degrees. It says 200, but I still had the seal in here, so I was kind of nervous about that. So we'll see how that goes. And then what's the exciting news, I managed to get a new aftermarket, well, it's not new but new to me, rear spring for the Africa Twin, so that should be a bit of a upgrade as well. So that'll be next week's job. So that brings this week's episode to an end. It's been pretty productive, covered a lot of bits and bobs, so next week should be pretty exciting because it's kind of like we'll start putting everything back together. The chap came back to me about the radiator. He said he did a pressure test, that's all fine, so they can go back in. And yeah, so next week should be pretty exciting, lots to do, and mostly it's reassembling. I'm going to pick up an aftermarket rear shock as well, because I'm not sure how much gas is left in the original, so I figured if I just go and do that now, then it's done as well. So now it's time for a bit of a barbecue, braai, as we know from where I am, and a beer, and that'll wrap up the end of the week. Thanks for watching.